Hi, what's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream. Spoiler alert, Whatcha Dilly McGillicuddy, episode 795. This is where the show is where we talk about and review graphic novels, movies, TV, and a once monthly roundup of current comics on the stands right now. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA, a super rad shop that caters to the super rad. Joining me tonight are Brian Lieb.
Hi.
And Noel Bartocci.
Hi.
Oh, Jesus. Hi. Hi. Yeah. Thank you.
It's better.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you like what you're doing, if you like what we're doing to you right now, comment, subscribe, share, do all that stuff, and pipe up in the comment section because we love it. You can also email us.
If you like what you're doing though, and it's not hurting anybody, do it.
Yeah, which right now I guess is watching this.
Subscribe and like to your happiness.
Yeah, aw.
Yeah.
That's nice. You can also email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com, and you can join our
just as good
Facebook book club group, JD's Hero Complex Book Club. Tomorrow night is... What's tomorrow night? No, I forget.
I honestly don't know. I had this conversation earlier. I don't...
Is it Bolero?
Is it a movie of some
It's
sorts?
not Bolero.
No.
I honestly don't know. So last week was Sea-Based Bolero.
Last week was Bolero. Tomorrow night is Movie Club, and we will be talking about Practical Magic.
Huh?
Oh yeah, I'm not going to rewatch that.
I haven't ever seen it, so I'm going to watch it. But this happens when I take a week off and someone else is in charge of book club. Practical Magic. And then the next movie club 2 weeks after that will be the Fast and the Furious.
Again, I'm also not going to rewatch that. Like, I wish I was there to like. Well, no, you know what? I have rewatched it in the last year, but if you want like anybody born in the 90s to not completely walk away from that franchise, you don't start them on part one. You just don't. Yeah.
So anyway, that's
Practical Magic a purportedly bad movie?
Oh no, I just don't care for it.
Huh.
I've never seen it.
Huh.
It's
a
just
lot of people do.
it's not one I would have gone to in order to engage folks in a movie club discussion about a film.
I got you.
Yeah, Practical Magic.
You know what? Hang on. We have no email tonight, but that is a solid. That's a solid conversation. If you don't mind me derailing us for a hot second, because we do the show, we review books, we have book clubs, we have movie clubs. How do you feel about like that delta between something you really like versus something that will actually be a good conversation, or something that you dislike but something that'll be a really good conversation? For my part, like when we would do weekly books and we're discussing comics, even if issue 6 is the best thing I read that week and really wanted to talk about it, if we talked about the other 5, that's not a very awesome conversation. So right. Like you steer the program, or you steer the conversation, or the itinerary to foster something. So like Bolero was a couple weeks ago. We all kind of had issues with that book, but hot damn, I'm sure it was a great conversation because it was something really to discuss, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to unpack. I agree. And on the other end, if there was something we've made this decision for years. If there's something that the 3 of us don't like, if we read a book and we're all like, this is garbage, we don't talk about it on the show. Because it's not fun to just sit there and go, this is garbage. What'd you think? Oh, it was garbage? Cool. Brian, what'd you think? Garbage? Cool. All right.
Well, I think part of the reason we don't talk about that on the show is because, it would be hurtful to whoever did it. Whereas pointing out why things are not good can be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I tend to believe that it's there is no thing that is really good that you can't have an interesting conversation about, you know?
So along those lines, though, like,
Yeah.
let's say we all love something and we keep loving it. I don't think it's interesting to say the same thing that we love about it on a monthly basis over and over again,
Well,
right? So,
but talking about the events of the plot would be different. You know what I mean? In that kind of situation. I don't know if anybody in the audience has a different point of view, but yeah, if we're like, this art is just as cool as it always was, and the way the writer does this kind of thing, and it is the same, then yeah, that would be tough.
What are you drinking?
Well,
JD, this is a concoction full of rum and Coke and ice.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. You look. You know, you were leaning back in such a way, and you were swirling your glass
Rum
in
and Coke
such
and
a
ice.
way that I was like, oh, he looks classy as shit.
I remember early days in listening to podcasts, like when we actually had to like download them to your iPod.
Yeah.
I remember listening to like review shows, comic review shows or TV review shows and stuff where they would just touch in on a series. Like it's like still good. Nothing new to add because we've spoken miles about how great this thing is. But just still good. And I just feel like I always am impulse to steer away from that because as a listener, I wouldn't find that hella interesting to just keep hearing the same gush, right?
I don't think I've ever listened to a comics review podcast, to be honest
You're
with
on
you.
one.
I mean, I listen to us as we're doing it, but other than that, I don't think I've ever tuned into a review of anything, honestly.
I stopped.
Who gives a shit?
When we started. Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah, you audience, you bunch of assholes. What are you listening to us for?
Hey, I mean, if you're loving it.
I stopped listening. When I started doing the show with you guys, I stopped listening regularly. Like it would be the week after. Because I don't want to be informed by other people's opinions for the most part if I can help it.
Yeah, I used to listen to iFanboy, and I stopped when I started doing my own show because I didn't want to like repeat anything accidentally.
Yeah. I heard about a writer once who would do that with story. He was like, "Don't give me ideas." It might have been Warren Ellis actually, who said he refused to have people tell him their stories that were like starting out and like, "What do you think about it?" Because he says, you know, I might 10 years later hear that or remember it and forget that I heard it somewhere and write it, and then he'll be pissed, and, you know, that kind of thing. Plus, for the review purposes, spoilers, right? I don't want to hear a single thing about something before I.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Kevin, speaking of the comments, Kevin's down there saying, speaking of movies, what is your first bad movie you remember seeing, in your opinion? Mine was Cable Guy. Probably I was too young for the humor, but I really disliked it. LOL. I can remember specific. I've never walked out of a theater during a movie.
He's still in all the theaters.
I've never left. But the Lord himself shut down the entire movie theater when me and my friends went to go see Battlefield Earth.
Oh.
Yeah. The God was just like, and I said,
I'll tell you what,
God.
Good books though. Series of books. Yeah, it gets. It's like a very thick volume was what I read, which was I think like 5 of the novels in a combined or something like that. And by the end of it, it's pretty formulaic. But the beginning, like 3 or 4 novels are all really good. Like they're a cool story. Yeah. So
I remember
it's a shame
thinking it was
that movie.
Pretty terrible.
Yeah, which sucks when something gets adapted and then people won't even hear it. You know, you're like, oh, there's Battlefield Earth. And they're like, impossible. It can't be good. The movie was bad.
Yeah. Do you guys have one?
There was a movie. I don't remember the name of it. It's the first one that I remember thinking is bad now. I might have disliked movies before that, but this one was so not up my alley. It had on the VHS cover Sylvester Stallone, who was in the movie, and
hopefully, ideally. legally.
He had a pretty big part in it. And although they do sometimes do that with, was it Tom Hanks and I think Jack Nicholson feature very prominently on movies that they had extremely small roles in that are like these very small, like Jack Nicholson is in the original Little Shop of Horrors for 2 seconds. He plays the Bill Murray role, but he is like the main character on the cover of that movie.
That's the Roger Corman one. He's the Steve Martin role in the
dentist.
Yeah.
No, he's the guy who
he's
goes
the Steve
to
Martin role.
Is he?
No, I'm sorry. The Bill Murray. He's the Bill Murray.
Yes.
So, but he was nothing, he had no fame at that time, but now when they sell it, he's like the biggest one on the cover. Anyway, this movie, blue sky in the background, clouds, Sylvester Stallone.
Stop My Mom Will Shoot.
No, come on. No, that movie was great. At the time. I liked it then. His mom would shoot, JD.
Blue sky in the background and Sylvester Stallone. That's really odd. How about, can you at least articulate roughly what the plot was?
No, it was bad. It was like, all I remember is maybe there was some kind of
was it Daylight?
Mob or mafia thing.
Daylight was
I don't think it was Daylight.
Yeah, I know, but I figured maybe the sky.
No, it was like almost a pastoral. I mean, no ground, but just sky and clouds, like him superimposed on this. Yes, I think it was Oscar.
I saw that in theaters.
What was
it was a 1930s or no 1920s. Hey, Kai.
Hey.
It was a 1920s style madcap comedy where it's a gangster trying to go legit.
It was a
on
gangster
the day of his on the day of his daughter's wedding.
Okay.
So he's juggling the wedding, his former business, his future business, trying to go straight, and it's supposed to be like a Noel Coward / madcap kind of fast dialogue play. Kind of the whole movie takes place like in his mansion.
Oh. I'll tell you, I may be misremembering it. It's close enough to the cover that I remember.
Cliffhanger? What is that? Out of sight? What are you looking at?
That's Oscar. That was.
Oh, yeah.
But I might be misremembering it, or it could be a completely different thing. Because the plot you described sounds familiar, but remember, I'm not even trying to finish this movie, and I was, I don't know, 7 or whatever when it came 11.
Oh,
I don't
Jesus!
remember.
Yeah, you're a little late.
Who knows?
You were a little young for that movie. It was a pastiche of an era that you didn't even know existed at the age of 7 or 8. Yeah.
At that time, probably not. I don't know. I really don't know when my awareness of
like they were making jokes
20s
about
came into me.
I remember in that movie too. That first of all, great derailment to a obscure early 90s Sylvester Stallone comedy.
Let's get into it.
But I remember in that movie he was making jokes to his like maybe 20-year-old daughter about the music they listen to these days, and it's rotting their brains. And that Cab Calloway, have you ever even heard those lyrics? They're salacious. I thought that was pretty funny. I remember being very young and understanding a Cab Calloway joke.
I don't know. I don't know it now.
It's Minnie the Moocher.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So did we figure out I went away to say hi to my family?
I don't remember the first bad movie I ever watched. I went to the movies all the time, and I watched tons and tons of bad movies. It wasn't until later in life when bad / mediocre movies seared themselves in my brain. Because like, I don't know, maybe it was just like understanding mortality. Like when I was younger, I would just fucking watch anything, and it was bad or good or whatever. I'd obsess about it or never see it again. When I got older, it was like, I spent time on this.
Yeah.
And the first one that really bothered me and still bothers me to this day is Sucker Punch. I think it was the first time I walked out of the theater just feeling like I got hosed.
Yes.
Oh, I like that movie.
I hate that movie.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
No, I can't. Like, I understand everyone having conversations and arguments about like how to approach it and in segments, and it's really pretty here, really pretty there. I don't like it. I don't like any aspect of it.
That's pretty old, though. That was like well into adulthood for a movie that you were like, I'm done.
Yeah. I was like 2010.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I grew up watching a lot of really bad. I worked at a video store. I grew up renting VHS after VHS after VHS, just whatever I could get my hands on. So I have seen so many bad movies, but it's hard to find like the first one.
Yeah, it probably happened before you recall.
It's like
this Bears is terrible.
Like, wait a minute, I'm forming an opinion, and I don't like this.
I was obsessed with really bad movies though when I was growing up. Like, I think I even knew they were bad at the time. It almost felt like, it was before really even understanding or no. Yeah, I saw the Robin Monroe like Sucker Punch. That's great. Everybody can like what they want to like.
Which is a good
literally, we could talk for 2 or 3 hours about every single way that movie is fucking terrible, but it's okay.
Mr. Bean?
Yes. Obviously, I'm talking about Mr. Bean. Why wouldn't I get passionate about Mr. Bean? That's what matters most to me, Mr. Bean.
He's an amazing performer.
I would watch movies. I liked that they were bad. It was the kind of movies that I knew that if somebody walked in the room, they would question, like, what the fuck is this? And we're talking like creature features or munchies or like drive-in style movies. I would seek them out and I would watch them. Yeah. And I loved them. And I knew they were bad. Yeah, Meet the Feebles. Literally anything you can get away with renting, knowing it's bad, but the cover wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Cover was interesting enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the cover was interesting enough. It was just, the cover wasn't so exploitative that the person you're walking it up to as like an 11-year-old would question it.
I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So I couldn't rent many trauma movies because most of them were just like booby. But I can get away with Toxic Avenger.
Was that the goal?
Toxic Avengers.
Was this like a primary goal of watching these movies?
No, there was just there was like a shame associated with it. Like I knew they were terrible. I wanted to watch them because they were terrible, but I didn't want anybody to think that I only watched terrible movies.
Yeah.
See, I'll tell you,
guilty pleasures.
I have never been of the mind of guilty pleasures, or like the only qualification for something being good is that you like it. Really?
I mean, that's my perspective now as like a rational adult.
You had this thought. You had this perspective at 11.
Yeah.
Me at 11.
You had this perspective at 11.
I don't know if I verbalized it in that way, but I never was like, this thing is bad, but I like it. Like, if it's good, if you like it, it's good. You know what I mean? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would say so.
If you like it, it's enjoyable. It's not good.
Yes.
It's not
What's
good.
the difference?
The difference is we've gone through this again.
But it's a very interesting conversation.
It's not. We've had it before. Like subjective good versus like opinion is like, what's the metric? How it's constructed, how it's not constructed, how it's like, intention versus it's. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
I like things, but I don't. Just because I like them, I do not think that they are good.
I would say you're talking about different kinds of good, right? Like there is the good that you appreciate for one reason and something that you appreciate for a different reason, and they may not all fulfill all categories.
So like if people enjoy The Room, then it's good.
It is to them, right?
Even though they're enjoying what's bad about it.
I think that what we're I guess arguing over is use of the word good. Brian, you're considering the word good as something that can only be defined on a singular personal level or individual level, whereas JD and I maybe subscribe to the fact that there is maybe at least a baseline good or a considered understood good bad
general
where you feel on that on that scale.
I would say that
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. There are movies that I enjoy because they are bad.
Yeah.
But I would not recommend them to other people because they are not good.
Is there no one you would recommend them to? Somebody with your particular tastes, perhaps?
Sure.
All right. So I would say that the thing you were saying, the dichotomy between a personal subjective good and a generally agreed upon baseline of good is really just a personal subjective good and numerous personal subjective goods that overlap in certain areas, right?
If there is only a small sliver
subjective good.
If there's only a small silver or niche population that considers that one thing good or subjectively good, it is a fringe of the general understood or agreed upon societal good. So we
definitely.
can say safely it's not good. It is
no,
good.
not safely.
You like it. You
because
don't like it.
So the generally agreed upon thing is still just a collection of individual subjective goods, right?
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as a society, we still at least kind of agree on those baseline metrics, right?
But society has agreed on many things which were later seen to be incorrect, right? That is no basis for what is good.
But I'm not going to judge Critters 2, the new batch, based off of 1,000 years of understood culture. I'm going to base it on my span.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying.
And in my lifespan, it's not a good movie.
Important
note. You don't like it. You don't like it.
Maybe Critters 4.
Important footnote.
Yeah.
It's Gremlins 2, the new batch. It's Critters 2, the main course.
Oh, there we go.
Course. Shit.
Right. Co-starring the red-haired guy from the Orville, who also does the voice of Steve.
Yeah, Bradley Brown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So anyway, in the comments, Anthony D says, based on your review, I read The Dark Room, and that was great. I never would have found that book. I'm glad, Anthony.
Yeah.
Also, Anthony, I do have your books ready to go. I'm just still trying to track down. There was a World's Finest mishap, and I think we're missing one of your World's Finest, and it's now out of print. So I'm trying to track down a copy for you. I want to say 4. It's the one with
Go ahead. No, it's the one with I want to say 4.
It's,
the rest of the
it's like the Batman Superman robot on the front or whatever that is.
Where they become the Green Lantern thing.
Yeah, the Green Lantern lets them combine.
Yeah. I want to say it's number 4.
It hasn't. There's no second print for it.
There is. It's out of print.
Ike. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, working on it. Robert Monroe says, I took my twins to see Mr. Bean. The movie was horrible. Thankfully, a fire broke out in the theater kitchen. So the theater closed, and we got free tickets to see something else.
Sounds like something that would happen in a Mr. Bean movie.
Right?
Yes.
Brian Anderson, or Branderson, as I like to call him. It was some movie where Lindsay Lohan was a secret stripper twin who becomes an amputee and has lots of sex. Walked out and got my money back. Oh, the Parent Trap. Only movie I walked out of.
It's called I Know Who Killed Me.
Oh!
That was my message. Yeah.
No,
I remember that. Yeah.
No, I saw you type that. I know who killed me. But it was at the very beginning of the conversation that you and Brian were about to have about what is good and what is not good. And I thought you were making a commentary.
I know who killed me.
If anyone wants to know who killed me, it was Brian making me have this conversation.
Death and transformation of self into another level.
Oh, Robert Monroe Jr. says, it depends on the person. I like John Waters movies. Many people would say that they aren't good.
Like Arrested Development, right? Sometimes some of the best things are only considered good by a small group of people.
That's awareness, though, not. That's more awareness.
I think there's still a lot of people who wouldn't think Arrested Development is funny.
Did not watch the show or know the show.
Oh, for sure, and it definitely gained popularity later. But I wonder if there's are there a lot of people who wouldn't find it funny at all? But
I wonder if there are people who think seasons 4 and 5 are good.
There might be.
Is it mild? So I understand there's no real way to measure it, but isn't it mildly anecdotal to say somebody wouldn't like something that is highly regarded versus the general understanding that there is a preferable outcome versus a non-preferable outcome when you create fiction to be good or not?
Preferable is that everybody thinks it's really good.
A majority of people consider it to be, in high regard, a good piece of fiction.
I would assume that you mean like from the perspective
people consider
of the
Casablanca
creator.
From the perspective of the majority of eyeballs that consume it.
Right.
Casablanca is considered good. Period.
Okay.
There are people that dislike it.
Okay.
And there are people that think it's rote or boring. but the majority of humans that consume that film think it's good.
Okay.
That is an agreed upon metric to say good. Just as The Room is an agreed upon metric to call bad, even though there is tons of people that ironically and unironically like it.
Yeah, the whole ironic liking thing is different, but beside the point.
Sure.
Yes, that is true. There are widely agreed upon conceptions of what is good and not good. That just doesn't matter. Like, what other people think about it has nothing to do with...
But I agreed upon. I agreed to that. Like, the individual experience is fine. But understanding that it is considered good in a high regard or considered bad in a low regard is separate from my interpretation of it.
Yes,
so I can say something's bad, but I like it. Something's good, I don't dig it.
No, it's just that doesn't make it good or bad, in my opinion.
I would also say, so like,
I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. I said it doesn't matter. It does, because I love it when I like something and other people like it too, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome to share in that joy. And sometimes even to share in disliking something and pointing out what is so awful about it is also awesome. So it's not without value. I just would say that doesn't define any sort of objectivity or essential nature of goodness. That's just a bunch of people's opinions.
Criticism has never been objective.
Well, sure. So there is no intrinsic good. It's just something that a bunch of people agree upon.
Just as though a bunch of people agree upon shoes or a shirt or like it's a baseline understanding of yes or no. I'm not even talking about like whittling down to one specific piece of fiction that you consider good or bad. I'm talking about just the understanding that there is a good, there is a bad, and that's
I don't think there is, unless you're saying there is a good that is agreed upon by a lot of people. You know what I mean? Does it exist outside of our perceptions? I'm not so sure. It might.
Well, I'm not asking. I'm not asking a celestial being. I'm talking about just other humans.
Right.
Our perception.
So it's only their opinions, right? It's nothing innate to the universe.
But it's an aggregate of so many opinions that it is an understood metric to follow. Like it's not so. All right.
Right.
Next
I just
topic.
don't.
Robert,
I wouldn't want to be bound. You know.
You are bound. You aren't bound. But to say that it doesn't exist is a completely different than.
Oh no! I've said this whole time it exists. It's the collective opinions of many individuals.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, what did Robert Monroe Jr. say?
Robert Monroe Jr. says, "I don't like heavy metal music. That doesn't mean heavy metal music is bad. It just means that I don't like it." I feel like my comment, Penny, has derailed this podcast. I feel like my comment, Penny, has derailed this podcast train. We would have done it ourselves anyway, really? Kevin.
I mean, those are the most interesting parts, Kevin. So there you go.
I mean, you could say that, but I've spent the last 5 minutes looking at my phone. I
didn't say they were interesting to you.
Hey,
objective, good or bad?
It does beg the question. No. What'd you do this week, huh?
Oh, so many things. So many things.
Tell me, you can tell me three things.
Three things. Well, I will avoid.
He's out.
Oh,
he's avoiding it all.
He does not like being constrained. He does not want to be bound.
There he is.
Yeah,
he's in.
No, it was a cursor error. It was just a cursor error. Because I'm trying to get rid of the banner.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you. I read a lot of comics this week. The last couple of weeks, I have not been reading too many comics, and a lot of things were piling up. So I just tried to clear my stack. As much as I love us being able to preemptively and create a schedule and preemptively kind of plan out what we have in advance, I do miss the fact that I get to read as many. Like, there's no urgent necessity to read through current comics as much. So I sometimes feel detached from the overall conversation. So I wanted to make a conscious effort to like read my comics this week. So a couple of things. that I thought would be fun to kind of point out. The first one is the DC event books that are happening right now. So issue 4 of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and issue 5 of Flashpoint Beyond both came out the same week. They have the same shipping schedule, which wasn't worrisome before, but now they're referencing each other and one's not over yet, and it's weird.
Whoops.
So Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, formerly known as Dark Crisis, got a little bit bigger this week, and it's still really, really good. I was really, really enjoying it at the beginning, and I think you guys were also, because it was a very small story. Like, there was some multiversal stuff happening with Pariah and whatnot, but it was more contained to the second generation kind of the DC universe having to step up when the Justice League is off the board. It's great. It's still great. It's gotten much bigger. A big thing happened this issue, but even though it's not what I was enjoying the most early on in the series, they spent so much time with those characters that now that it's expanded to literally creation level events, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Like, if that was something that happened in issue 1, it would have felt like another fucking Crisis. That's great. Cool. But the fact that he started it, Joshua Williamson, the writer, started it at like the Titans level, it just kind of hits a little different. It's very good. I'm really enjoying it. But then Flashpoint Beyond, in the first page of issue 5, they technically spoil the end of Dark Crisis.
Whoops.
Which is still 3 issues away.
Oh,
yeah,
that's quite a
4
few.
months. 4 months from now.
Okay.
Now, it's not an obvious spoilage. It's literally just like a broad, and then they came back and this was good and crisis averted, and then they continue to talk. So it's not a spoiler in so much as like I knew that was going to happen, and there's probably a lot more to the summation. But it was a little shocking. But what I wanted to talk about, both of them, they're both very good. They're both worth reading. Dark Crisis is dealing with crisis level events, a new multiverse or something. I don't even understand it yet, but it's big and it's crazy. And there's tons and tons of callbacks to various Crisis books before. Flashpoint Beyond's dealing with hypertime, which I still don't really understand.
They specifically call it
the
hypertime,
way that they describe
like
it,
from the 90s?
Yes, it's hypertime. The way that they describe it in the book, hypertime, they talk about it as being a personal emotional crisis. Not unlike relativity, like touch a pot for 10 seconds, it feels like an eternity, blah, blah, blah. But in hypertime, a crisis level event can happen to just one person, and it's emotional in nature. So it sounds like they're using hypertime to bring back or backdoor open the Flashpoint universe without it having disappeared.
All right.
Which don't understand, but it's well written and it's a pretty good story. Okay. So I would highly suggest both of them if you are deep into DC. They're both very strong event books. It's just very weird that they're happening at the same time. It's a Marvel thing. Marvel usually has like overlapping mini events all the time, but DC usually just kind of sticks with like one a year for the most part. It's just very odd that these are on top of each other. Yeah, but they're good books. The other one I read was in honor of JD and his favorite artist, Greg Land. So I read All Out Avengers #1, written by Derek Landry with art by Greg Land. Now, is everyone listening familiar with Greg Land, the artist?
Not really.
JD, would you like to talk about Greg Land?
He's the artist who traces people a lot. And his favorite, if you look throughout most of his books, all of the women look like Claudia Schiffer.
Yeah, just Google search Greg Land swipe or trace or whatever, and you'll see like centerfold after centerfold,
Yeah.
Google image after Google image, just kind of superimposed with a Fantastic Four uniform on it.
Yep.
But
I
does what he
actively
does.
don't read books that he works on. I like if I see something's coming and he's the artist, I go, I think twice about whether or not I'm going to be picking it up.
So the only reason why I bought this issue is it's a Scotty Young cover
Oh yeah.
of Blade, like jumping in the air. I'm like, that's great. I love Scotty Young covers. I'll just get this one issue. The book was actually pretty damn good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
See, I
wish
like to
it
hear
was
that.
another artist. Now it wasn't it wasn't a deterrent. It was a very subdued Greg Land. Like there were no like obvious porn star O faces or anything, but it definitely was like cool. Got it. But it's apparently the impetus of it. It is not connected to any of the other Avengers books right now. It's in the same structure as Nonstop Spider-Man. The entire issue it drops you into something that's happening with some things, and it just goes and then kind of gets resolved really fast. So it will be an anthology series of sorts where it's just new mission, different team. However, there's dialogue boxes, or sorry, thought balloons, text boxes, narrator, who is not any of the main characters, who's telling this story and then setting up like foreboding things. So the mystery is that what the fuck is going on? Who's really telling this story? But as it is, it's just really fun Avengers books. I would recommend this. If you're not deterred by Greg Land art, this is a solid read. This is a really, really solid book. That's all.
Nice.
Oh, and I really, really,
I'm sorry.
Are you pulling up swipes? Before you do,
Yeah.
we talk about that forever. I also read, so we're going to talk about Once and Future tonight as our main topic, but I am current with that book. Issue 29 came out this week. Issue 30 is the finale. But reading issue 29, I was literally fist bumping and cheering. Like it was audible excitement reading this book, and it was so good. It's like satisfying to no degree, cliffhangers and stuff. Like it. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite books. Period.
Sweet.
All right. What is this? Oh yeah, here we go. Greg Land swipes.
So, it's gonna be fun for everyone.
Yeah, especially the people listening on iTunes.
Yeah, here are these swipes.
Listen to these swipes.
Can you see them?
Yeah. So it's
like, and you'll even
it's
if you look on the left here, you'll even see where he uses the same pose with the same face and just changes the costume.
Mm-hmm.
Or he traces a Venom statue. Yeah, all of these are. Or there's 50 Cent.
He just finds Google image search. First of all, that's Greg Land swipe John Cassaday. Different books having the same person in them. Yeah, it's he's a very efficient artist.
Look at this. I love this terrible drawing of, I guess, Tony Stark, and the many times he just used that same drawing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Anyway.
I remember reading an article or somebody said, "Ooh, that's my favorite Daisy Fuentes." I had that calendar when I was growing up.
Wait, so
Married
he's
to
guys,
Richard Marx.
Greg Land is the one, like, to the left of. Scroll up a little bit. We've got, or that one. Greg Land is the one that did the image that we can see the bottom half of the torso of, right? Like, he does that kind of soft. The Fantastic Four one, that's him.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Craft aside, I really like the final output. Like, I like that. I don't know. There's a certain softness to his stuff that I enjoy.
I agree with you. Like it's aesthetically, it's very pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly pleasing on covers. reading his interiors, it looks like a bunch of static poses. Like somebody's just talking, but they have the same face from before when they were yelling. Like it's. I really, really like Alex Ross, but sometimes I feel his interiors are sometimes kind of static. Like it's that moment where it looks like a pose as opposed to he used a pose kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's 10 times more egregious with Greg Land's work because it's based off even someone else's photography. Yeah,
right.
The swipe of all the Raiders fans in his X-Men book was just ridiculous. I mean, people have like called him out for years, but apparently he's an incredibly nice guy. And I think the last time I read anything about it, Marvel, somebody asked like CB Cebulski about it, and his response was very much akin to like he meets his deadlines and he's good at his job.
And if people buy the books, what else does Marvel really care about?
That's all they need.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
He's not like in a sea of problematic artists.
Yeah.
Greg Land is not a problem right now.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good point. Yeah, he's not a dickhead.
Yeah, and he doesn't. I mean, I don't know if he does or not, but does he hide this fact if people bring him up? So he's doing what he does.
I've literally never seen him respond to it.
Okay, yeah.
At all. So I don't know.
No, I guess it would be cool. And the little part that doesn't sit right about that it's fine is like, well, there are a lot of other artists who could do really good work that aren't getting a chance. But I mean, that's a very ephemeral sort of thing.
No, was there anything else that you did this week, huh?
Was there? Did I forget to make a card for it? Oh, I fist bump. It's great. I loved it. Everyone should
okay, great. Brian, what'd you do this week, huh?
I watched all of the available episodes of Killing It on Peacock. It is a show headlined by Craig Robinson and Claudia O'Doherty, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she was in, what do you call it? Our Flag Means Death. She's an Australian actress. And I feel like I've seen her somewhere else too. But anyway, Killing It is about Craig Robinson's character is down on his luck. He's always trying to scheme and hit it big. And
I love Claudia O'Doherty. I never knew her name, but she's wonderful.
She is, right? Yeah.
She's delightful. Yeah, she's so good. Yes.
Yeah. She's delightful in this too. She plays a very cool guy, nice character. She's awesome. And so Craig Robinson's character hires her as an Uber driver. She pulls over and kills a snake at one point while he's on his way to his latest, hit it big kind of plan, which is to buy a farm to farm these berries, right? And that's kind of the thing that sets it all off. And it turns out in Florida, which I think is true, there's these invasive boa. I don't know if they're boa constrictors. I don't think they call them that, but very large snakes that are not particularly dangerous to humans if you're on your guard. They're not venomous, but they're very, very big. And there's a prize because they're an invasive species. Whoever kills the most of them gets $20,000. So
Burmese pythons.
There you go. And so they embark on, they join forces and they embark on a quest to win this contest. But it's not all about that. Like, I would have thought it would be mostly about them hunting these snakes and the misadventures that they run into. And I don't know, around episode 5, there's like whole episodes that have nothing to do with the snakes, but it's still there. It's really good. All of the supporting characters are good. Tim Heidecker, or the other guy that was in that show, but I think it's Tim Heidecker, is in it. Now, there's a show I never liked. I don't like that kind of humor, but I can tell that they are good at their craft. So they're clever guys. The Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job.
Oh, yeah.
Same. Not my thing,
Not a fan.
But I can see their goodness. So he's in it. It's fun. I highly recommend it. I got just like pulled in, and we watched the whole think it's 10 episodes over just a few days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it out. I do like her. She's very charming. I like her a lot.
She is, and she plays such a disingenuous, honest character. She's so fun to watch. Greg Robinson is always fun to watch.
Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah, and they create a very vibrant world in this show.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you guys would enjoy it.
Cool.
I'll put it on the list after I finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, have you just? Are you just getting into Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or you were?
No, I'm halfway through 7.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
it's a good show. I was just thinking about the series finale. The final season today, yeah, I think it could have gone a little while longer, but I understand why they didn't want to do it.
Oh, JD's out. Oh,
all right. Anyway, let's talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, JD, what you been up to this week?
Oh, I'll tell you. Thanks so much for asking. You spoiled it. It's glorious. I watched a movie called Glorious on the Shudder streaming platform, and it's starring a guy who was in True Blood.
Ryan Quaiden.
That guy. It's the guy from True Blood. It's the guy that you've seen. You go, oh, it's that guy from True Blood. That guy. He's in it. And here's the thing. I want to tell you what the movie's about because that's the only way you're going to go watch the movie. But I don't want to spoil what the movie's about because it feels like it would be a nice surprise to find out what's actually going on. But fuck it.
Don't tell us what's going on.
I'm going to spoil it. Well, no, I'm not going to spoil the end of the movie. I'm just going to tell you the plot.
Is it like one of those things that it's really fun to find out what the plot is while it's happening?
It's a glory hole. Enjoy it.
That's cool. I always do.
Okay. All right. It is a story about a guy who goes to a like one of those rest stops.
Sure.
You just pull over to shit and piss. Maybe use to get M&Ms or something. It's not one of the big ones where you're like, there's a Cinnabon, and it's just like one of those little outhouse stuff. And he goes in, he uses the bathroom, and he in the stall next to him, there's a glory hole, and in the stall next to him is something or someone played by J.K. Simmons.
Oh, all right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Is this a horror movie?
Yeah, it's a horror comedy.
A horror comedy? Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, and it is delightful. Man, I wasn't sure when I got into it if I was going to care or not. And I was like, this guy isn't big enough draw for me, the guy from True Blood. But all said and done, it's barely over an hour, I think. It's an hour and change. And I was so happy that I watched it. I by the time I was done, I was like, this movie's awesome. 4 out of 5 stars. I love it. It's a great movie. It's in and out. You're in and out real quick.
Did you compare it to like What We Do in the Shadows style? No. More horror?
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I believe it was a friend of the show, Jeff Kanata.
Who's never heard of the show? Yes.
Friend, well, I have a parasocial friendship with him.
That's cool.
He described the movie positively as goopy. It's a very goopy movie.
It is goopy. It is pretty goopy.
Yeah. I saw a trailer. I'm very much looking forward to watching it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'll bring up the poster real quick. But yeah, that's what I recommend this week. It was awesome. And the other thing is
another horror comedy.
It is sort of Young Frankenstein. I'd never seen it. Mel Brooks, black and white comedy from the late 70s. Young Frankenstein, 1974, early 70s. It's on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I was like, oh, you know what it was? You know what made this happen? A trailer dropped this week for Werewolf by Night. Yeah. And the way that was shot and the black and white and all that other stuff, I was like, you know what I haven't seen? Young Frankenstein. I should check that out. I wonder if it's streaming. Turns out it's on HBO Max. And I will say, I suspect the humor was much funnier in 1974 than it is now. That's not to say that there aren't bits that had me rolling. There were some good times had while I was watching this, but I did kind of have to make myself keep watching it. I was like, I don't know about this. Like he gets off the train. Frankenstein does, young Frankenstein, and there's
the titular character.
That guy.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a thing to take him up to the castle.
Sure.
And he goes to throw his luggage in, and he throws it up over the thing into a bale of hay. It's filled with hay, and you hear someone go, "Ooh!"
Yeah.
And he looks over, and there's a woman in there, and she goes, "Oh, would you like to have a roll in the hay?"
Yes.
And then she starts to roll around, just singing "Roll in the hay," and that's the joke.
Now that's probably something also that "roll in the hay" is a not very commonly used expression now either. So you just
I mean, I know what "roll in the hay" means. I know that it's
not that you
it's
don't know what
supposed
it
to be
means, right? But it's not something you hear very often. So the sanitization compared to what we get now, plus the oldness of that, is not helping.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend of mine has a theory that movies, you have to either see them, comedies specifically, when they come out or before a certain age, right? Like you could see them 50 years later if you catch them by the age of 12, and you might still find it just as funny. But I think they mentioned on the Crack podcast, JD, like you've seen things that have absorbed and digested and refined that stuff. So that stuff doesn't seem as funny, which
right.
Oh yeah, I agree with that too. Like nothing is more dated or nothing has a shelf life faster than just comedy in general.
Oh yeah.
Things like Young Frankenstein though kind of get a pass because they are still good, but mostly because they are the progenitors of an entire kind of like era or style. So it's not that it was the best; it's the first of like an era, right? So it's just considered in higher regard. Same with Blazing Saddles. Just Mel Brooks in general. Watching that stuff, agnostic of knowing who he is. Watching that stuff now, agnostic of knowing who he is, you'd think that it's just kind of like an old man's version of better stuff that's out now. Like, I get it. They're being ironic. Yeah.
Zany.
Okay. I get it. Yeah.
Now, counterpoint to that, my girlfriend had never seen it before a year or two ago, and she thought it was hilarious. She absolutely loved it. Yeah. And I wondered if she would too. We saw that and Blazing Saddles, and I think she loved both of them. Now, the first time I ever saw that movie,
I will say that it funnier.
No, you're gonna go, and I'm.
I will say that it did get funnier after my family went to sleep and I hit my vape.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what he intended. That was
good.
The artist's intention. Yeah. Was for you personally to do that. I mean, putting on the Ritz. Did that?
That's a funny bit.
Oh my god, it's
such a good bit.
Like a seminal cornerstone in my young comedy understanding. I absolutely lost it. But just like the unexpected nature of it, the build-up, this sophisticated thing, and then he does what he does.
There's an era of comedy in the early to mid 70s that hinge on the entire cast's commitment that I find more engaging than like actually the content. So like everyone in Young Frankenstein just so fucking into it and committed and knows exactly on the same page that it's like it's perfect. It's great. Stuff like The Jerk. Wildly dated.
I've always wanted to.
But
I love The Jerk.
Yeah.
The most perfect cast, wildly committed. Everyone knows exactly what they're making.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it kind of like work. There's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
But like you look at stuff that,
with Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, that when he was on the set of Blazing Saddles, like I forget the exact nature of it, but like he would agree to do Blazing Saddles if they also did Young Frankenstein or something like that. And Mel Brooks didn't want to do it at first. I think he definitely he did not want the Putting On the Ritz bit in there. And he was like very against it until he saw it. And then he was like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I know that you know the guy playing the old blind man, JD? You know who that was?
Oh, I was watching. I got about halfway through that scene, and then I started to go,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is that Lex Luthor?
Yeah. Whenever anybody's like, oh, Gene Hackman's in that movie. You're like, no, wait, it's Gene Wilder. Oh, no, actually, also Gene Hackman is in that movie.
I had to look it up because I was like, is this actually Gene Hackman? Yeah.
And apparently Mel Brooks had to like direct that scene from the hallway because he lost it every time. And he was like ruining takes because he was laughing so much. But no, sorry, you were going to say something too.
No, I was going to, compared to movies that we thought were fucking hilarious when we were like 11, they don't hold up now. Like
Billy Madison.
I was going to say like pretty much all the Adam Sandler movies for the most part, like Billy Madison, and they're not only problematic, they're just like so one note.
Yeah.
Whereas, comedies from 50 years ago hold a little harder.
Anyway,
I just rewatched History of the World Part 1 for the first time in a long time. History of the World Part 1. History of the World Part 1. Oh, it's so good. And so much, there's so much more academia in there than I think I picked up on. Like a whole song about the Spanish Inquisition with the name of one of the main people in it. Or he walks by Oedipus and he's like, what's up, motherfucker? I definitely did not get that.
See, that's good.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks said, to paraphrase, like, what is it? Getting a paper cut is tragedy. Falling off a cliff, screaming to your death is comedy. Like everything was to the hilt for him. It's smart, but also just crank it up to 11.
Yeah.
Plus 5.
Robert Monroe Jr. says, I love Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks is a genius. All right. That's what we've been doing this week. But I'll tell you what else we did this week. We read Once in Future volumes 1 and 2. And before we get into that, you should go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. Empty your wallet. Take out every credit card that you have.
Make it digital.
Sign up for our Patreon with every credit card that you have.
Separate.
Bankrupt yourself. If you don't have money, find it. And then give it to us on patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo.
That seems fair.
It's a solid message.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't do it is wrong.
Be responsible with your money and give it to us.
Let us be responsible.
If for some reason you're a little bitch and you don't want to do that, you could like and comment. Like, comment, subscribe. Find us on YouTube at /CultPopGo or on Facebook /CultPop Podcasts.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Noel says, like, comment, and subscribe like the little baby bitch boys that you are.
Like the little baby bitch boys you are.
Yeah.
First and most likely only. It's unlikely to come up in
before
any of your
anyone
other
finds that offensive. That's what I call my cat. Little baby bitch boy.
Little baby bitch boy.
So,
he does. It's true.
It's a term of endearment.
Or is it just dogs, though? Just dogs are bitches, right? Is anything else? A
female
wolf?
Dog?
Yeah.
Is a female wolf a bitch?
I don't know. They're genetically pretty indistinct from each other, but it might just be our take on them. That's like, now this bitch, that's a dog, but this other one, just wolf.
This bitch? Nah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Once in Future from Boom Studios, written by Kieron Gillen with art by Dan Mora. What if all legends are true? Retired monster hunter Bridget McGuire knows that they are. And when a group of nationalists uncover the fabled scabbard of Excalibur in order to bring King Arthur back from the dead to reclaim England, she will be the only one who can stop him. In order to do so, she'll need to pull her unsuspecting academic grandson Duncan into a deadly world of myth and prophecy. Their quest will lead them to confront the complicated history of their family, confront the deadly secrets of England's past, and throw the other world into shambles, allowing for new legends and characters to make their appearance and bring a world of trouble along with them. So, I like Kieron Gillen sometimes. I didn't make it all the way through Wicked and Divine, though I intend to eventually. Phonogram was pretty good. I found it a little impenetrable, not being totally up on my Britpop. I did like his Young Avengers. But this is the book for me. This is the Kieron Gillen book. If people were like, what Kieron Gillen book? Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's up?
If you were to ask me what Kieron Gillen book is my favorite, I would say Once and Future.
You would.
Hypothetically,
did you plan that out a little differently?
Wait,
Did you want me to ask you that?
But if you were to ask me what Kieron Gillen book Brian would like the most, I think I'd probably go with Wicked Divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, just judging, I have the first trade, but I haven't read it. Hopefully it's still in print if I ever get to it.
It is, yes.
Good.
But this book is delightful.
See, that's
is what I'm saying.
I really like this one too. Yeah, I did.
Well, why don't you tell us more about that, Brian?
I will. I liked it. We read the first, one or two back for the podcast quite a while ago, and I really dug it. And I also enjoyed that scabbard thing that brings King Arthur back to life. I was like, oh, hang on a second. Is that really in the mythology? And it is. And I thought that was cool, finding that out. So then the story looked like it would be a really fun King Arthur type story from there, but I never kept with it. And as I'm reading this, it's about a lot more than that, right? It's about this whole stories are all real. Now, that's not an idea that I haven't seen before, but I really like it. I like that concept of people believe in something, they tell the story, and so it becomes real. And, that is sort of, conceit. So, and I think that this is really well done. And it's another type of story, not unlike Killing It that I was talking about earlier, which starts in one place and very naturally expands and goes in a lot of different directions that you weren't expecting it to go. I also thought the art very pleasing to look at. I read this, I think I read like 10 or 11 issues of it yesterday with not a thought, right? It was just like, oh, I've hit the next issue break, chapter 12, whatever, like, here we go. I would recommend this to anyone that likes anything that it's about. Check it out.
I recommend this to anyone who likes anything that it's about.
Like, if you like these things, this is a thing you'll like, right? This is a good example of that stuff.
Fuck. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Noah, what do you got, buddy?
It's one of my favorite books. There's something really special about this book. The both of those like main conceits, like it's modern Arthurian legend kind of like / zombie movie, but also it expands to stories manifesting themselves.
Yeah.
What makes this different or original is it almost spits in the face of the idea that there's no originality left. So he took the creators took these like used tropes and story points that are very constant and old and made them kind of contingent on each other. Like, you can't just make stories real. You have to be aware that they can become, and then start to cast you or others within those stories for them to manifest themselves. Yeah. And it becomes this complicated spider web of like motivations and actions of other characters. Like, there are parts in this book where the bad guys are trying to outstory the good guys, and then the good guys outstory the outstory of the bad guys by constantly recasting each other in separate stories that will conflict with the ones that they think that they're in. It becomes so complicated, but the way that it's presented, even when I don't know the reference being made, I have never been lost at this book. I have never felt like they are talking at me now and it's not for me anymore. If anything, it inspires me to like go look shit up, which I did not feel when I was reading Wicked and Divine, and I did not feel when I was reading Phonogram. Like those books where if you know it, you'll get it. If you don't, you might enjoy this. Maybe we'll see. This one doesn't kick you away. It kind of like keeps inviting you.
Yeah.
It's also such a weird amalgam of things. Like this is everything from like monsters academics, and then by the end of the story, they're wielding semi-automatics fighting with Robin Hood. This is a really weird fucking book, and it just swerves into it constantly, and I love it. And
Robin Hood shows up?
Yeah, let's not get too into what happens after this.
I mean,
because I'm looking forward to
it's on covers.
Yeah.
I like that's not even a spoiler. Yeah. Just like all public domain stories, especially those based in Britain, are fucking fair game. Just know that shit's gonna happen.
But I'll tell you, you mentioned the thing with the academics and then eventually wielding machine guns, and maybe it's partially because of the long gap between issues 1 and 2 and the rest of it. I didn't see that coming with Duncan at all. I thought he was just going to be one of those characters that gets drawn into a world that he was unprepared for, rather than having been made for it. And it's a very cool turn, and they've gotten that bit where he then tries to take on a second aspect of a different character. Is a really interesting idea to try to be both of them at once.
The story as it progresses, it happened here, but as it progresses too, they do that a couple times where they circumvent expectations by introducing some other story points and or recasting your main character in order to like win the day or try something else. Like it's very charming, and the aesthetic of the book is incredibly pleasing. It's horror movie, but still very earnest. Everything has kind of like a noirish neon hue, which just really fucking works when it comes to magic.
I love the colors of the book.
Yeah, fantastic.
I cannot recommend this book enough. I've sold so many copies at the shop, just because I keep giving it to people. This is great. No.
Isn't there a scene? We're talking about characters changing and trying to win the day by changing their character and everything. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I read Volume 1, but isn't the fact that not only is it about, like, okay, we've got a King Arthur story here, and it was kind of a surprise to me that King Arthur was going to be a bad guy. So when King Arthur shows up and he starts murking folk, I was like, oh shit, King Arthur, what you doing, bub? And so the fact that there are different versions of the same story, and there are different versions out there because of the different stories. And I want to say there's a sequence where King Arthur doesn't know something about another one of the characters in the book because he's from a different version of the story of King Arthur than the other guy is. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I
was like, oh shit, that's cool.
There was something like that with the sword too. Or that was them talking about it. That he's like, I got the sword from the stone. He's like, I got Excalibur. And she's like, that's not usually Excalibur. Sometimes it is.
And like which one's in a stone, which one's in a lake, based on which version of Arthur. And then also too, like it gets even more complicated in a good way of like, okay, so which version of Galahad is this? And is it really a Percival? And is this a good Merlin or who's your Merlin kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Like it gets bug nuts crazy. So like the volume that we only read volume 1 and 2, the end of volume 3, which is issue 18, is literally the halfway point. Like the I want to say it's like the point of no return. And then the book completely redefines itself again. and the last 12 issues. So it's going to end with issue 30, but the last 12 issues are kind of like, you know, it's a whole nother phase of the story. But the way that it just keeps escalating over and over again, this is just so fucking great. Can you guys just get current, and then we'll talk about issue 30 next month?
I do
Like,
really
just
want to
plow
catch
through.
up.
Yeah, I'd be willing to do that.
Oh, it's so
Let's
good.
talk. Like, can we commit
Dan
to
Mora.
get to 30?
Yes, I commit.
Yeah.
The art by Dan Mora, I cannot say enough good things. This is one of the best looking books on the shelf, except for the other books that are drawn by Dan Mora.
He's a machine.
He's not, I don't understand how he gets it all done.
And none of
yeah,
it
man,
none of it is. Sorry, it's multiple books. At one point, he was penciling like 3 books a month. I don't know what his lead time was, but none of them were half-assed at all. He was on Detective, he was on World's Finest, he was on this, and he was doing covers. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, that World's Finest book is the one that Mark Waid is writing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
He's drawing that too.
Yeah.
It's it can be so kinetic at times. And the horror stuff is really horrific.
You know, there's a light, breezy kind of quality that doesn't detract from the seriousness of what you're looking at, but it just makes it easy to go through, you know?
Yeah.
This, I you know what, I attribute that to the character work by Gillen.
Well, that
this
too.
This could have been self-serious Drek, very, very pleased with itself and its understanding of the topics if it wasn't for characters like Bridget. And
she's
and
awesome.
Her, like, if you divorced Bridget and her, like, you know, the straight man that is Duncan from this story, then it almost becomes just an exercise and look how smart I am because I understand all these references and look what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But they ground it in a way that is airy, that's delightful, that keeps you in with all the complication. Because I know, like, you're different than me, Brian. You might like just reading Wikipedia pages of specific topics, but I like a story.
Have.
But I want my comic with a story with it.
Sure. Yeah, that's good too.
I want edutainment, not just
a
book report. And this could have easily been something like that because, honestly, this book gets so incredibly complicated, but it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I'll tell you, like you were saying about wanting to look stuff up, the thing with Beowulf and Arthur is like, he seems like he's an enemy, but we also maybe sometimes have fought together. That was news to me. You know, I'm not familiar with their stories crossing at all. And now I want to go see what's what about that, you know? And that he's not of the people that Arthur is fighting, but he fights with them, but sometimes they're still together. That was another part that I really liked from the very beginning, and it makes sense for casting King Arthur as a villain, is that when he is first resurrected by this scabbard of Excalibur, most of the people that are there are Anglo-Saxons who are now like the Britishest of British that you can possibly be. But at the time, where this Arthur, there was a group that were fighting them, right? So he slaughters them. And it makes sense that they say he's a real England first kind of guy, which is perfectly reasonable for both the character of a King Arthur and a bad guy in the story, you know?
This book begs to be adapted into everything. I want to see I like, it's so realized on the page that I see it as a movie. Like I absorb this as kinetic fiction as opposed
Could I interest you in like a TV series?
Sure, man. Well, actually, I mean, at this point though, fucking what is it? Boom has a deal with Netflix. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a top 5. Depending on how it finishes up, it's gonna be like it's top 5 on the shelves for me. Depending on how it finishes up, it's gonna be a top 5. Period.
Yeah, I have that that nice hardcover that you have there, Noel. It's
I have
so
the
it's
also
so
nice soft covers, which are a very pleasing series of primary colors. Who knows what the last one's going to be?
Yeah, the spines are all pretty.
Yeah.
This is also a book that I will probably buy in multiple formats. I got it in issues, but as soon as it was available in like the big old oversized art hardcover, it's like, that's gonna also be mine. I'll take that. Thank you.
You guys, a long time ago, I had an ancient history professor that said that in, I guess, Latin, ex saxono with a diacritic mark and without mean either from the Saxon or from the stone, right? So Excalibur, that he pulled from ex saxono, either from the stone or from the Saxon, the people that he was fighting. So possibly, if there was an Arthur, he was fighting Saxons, and as a trophy took a sword, and it was ex saxono and got transferred into from the stone, and then later became not where he gets Excalibur anyway in a number of stories. So, who knows? These things all shift around.
The more you know, the better this book gets.
There you go.
Yeah. It really does. It's really good. Highly recommended. Everyone here says check it out.
Sweet.
5 stars. Check it out.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Anything else to say about Once and Future?
That's it.
That was a pretty quick in and out review.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for it's difficult because I don't want to spoil things any more than we already have. Just pick it up and read it. It's great. It's really, really good. I will say that the first volume I got done and I was like, that was cool. And then the second volume, I was like, oh shit, this book is awesome. The first volume is good. The second volume builds upon the first volume in a way that makes me go, both volumes. This is great. I love it. It's one of my new favorite series.
Yeah, I haven't felt like keeping reading a story this much in quite a while. That that I was just like, how about another one? Let's keep going.
How about
another one?
Don't mind if I do.
So they were originally just kind of hired / commissioned, however it works, or originally pitched a 6-issue miniseries.
Oh yeah.
With the hopes that it would be popular to keep going. So like, like that first trade does kind of read almost confined with maybe like a little bit of a cliff or a little bit of a teaser of how they can expand it, but it does kind of end. It just kind of ends. But the book was so fucking popular.
I won't say it. I'm sorry. The way you said that, it just kind of ends, makes it sound like it doesn't have an end.
It could be the end. It's over. The climax, everything wraps up. It's nice. It feels like you
wouldn't need more story.
It feels like a solid movie that could continue if it wants to. A little bit of a cliffhanger.
Perfect. Yes.
And like a background. And that's how it was constructed. The book was so popular that they took like a 2-month hiatus, or it might have been like a 3 or 4 month hiatus, and then continued. So like it was back pocket stories, and it was at issue 7 where they actually started kind of tying everything together and like pushing towards a finale. But it was really only supposed to be kind of like a Hellboy model of like once a year, maybe there's a mini series. But it is such a rewarding read on a monthly basis, guys. It's so wonderful.
I'm gonna catch up. See, my problem is that we were talking about Avengers by Jason Aaron, and so I've just started reading that, and there's a lot to get through, and maybe I'll just put that down and pick up Once in Future and just finish that up.
It's so a palate cleanser. Read this and then
Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com and let us know what you guys think of Once in Future. If you're reading it, if you're not reading it, go read it and then email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. Be here next week, Monday night at 9:00 to discuss something. What are we talking about?
Did we unilaterally agree like Omega Men at some point?
Yeah, we did. Is that it? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, if everyone like, we'll talk offline about who has a copy, who needs one. But yeah, you've never read it. It's been a long time since I read it. and it's Kyle
All right.
Rayner.
Great.
Kyle
Rayner,
Tom King.
DC.
It is
Yeah.
by Tom
Yeah.
King, but let's check it out.
I was
Omega
going to say,
Man.
like, it can go either way for you.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. But all right, guys, we will see you in a week's time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget to go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo and give us every single penny that you have. And then make more pennies and send those pennies to us as well. We love you so much. Thank you for hanging out. It's been a blast, and we will talk at you later.